fine, as I said, having seen what you've done. However, as I recall from Speechcraft, the speakers are supposed to be Toastmasters. So at least on that respect, I encourage you to stay on the guideline to have only Toastmaster speakers. And because you have an online attendance option, said it distracts them. Okay, because I was thinking if you could invite speakers from across the globe, then that would address your need for experienced Toastmasters. Back to you.
Yeah, but these people be coming in person. The only other people I'm thinking of, there are some key people at the university who are not in our club, but they are very well aware of the importance of communicating verbally in presentations as well. That's the only reason. Back to you, madam.
Thank you very much. I think we will first do training topics, and then we will do evaluation.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I wanted just to tell Julian that I am sorry for the mix-up of timing. The program as it is in the manual, I looked, is 5 to 7 minutes, but in our training, we usually give as much time as the trainer needs for a project. And I should have asked before Brian, because his project was worth longer time.
Thank you.
So now I will introduce our trainer topics leader, which is no other than Michelle Alba.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Julie. And I love that you have now added this new term, training topics leader. I like that because saying master does not quite fit. So I think I like the training topics leader or training topics facilitator better. And the training topics today that I plan to ask even before this issue with the internet connections is actually related partly to this technology concern. So I would like to start off with that, and bear in mind that I cannot see the participants. I've tried to push so I can see you. However, I am afraid I will lose the connection if I do that. So I cannot see you. So I will just call your name and please just unmute yourself because I can't see if you're muted or unmuted. So the first question is, as a trainer or facilitator or presenter, what are the measures or steps that you take to either ensure that your technology works, or if it doesn't, what is your backup plan if technology fails you when you are doing a presentation? And let me see, I think because I see Julie on the screen right now, I don't know why it's you that's on the screen, but let me pose that question to you. Again, let me repeat the question. As a trainer or as a presenter, what measures or steps do you take to ensure that you have technology working? And or what is your backup plan in case technology fails?
Wonderful question. I would like to tell you, Michelle, that you have Denise, Julian, Terry, Scott, and Brian, and me.
Thank you.
So,
Do you want me to answer that one? Because I had a situation on.
Okay, Brian. And our usual time, Julian, we are giving the usual time, which is 1 to 2 minutes. Over to you, Brian.
Well, this week, for some reason, neither of our people at First Canadian that takes a computer there in order for us to get the online situation in there, took their computer there. So I said to them, okay, let's use the in-house computer. But what does the in-house computer have? It has a connection to display on a screen through a projector what is seen by the computer. And it has speakers connected to it, which was fine. However, we didn't have a mic. Now, I opened the Zoom meeting, and they joined the Zoom meeting, so that's fine. We're both there. But I couldn't hear anything what they were saying. The meeting has started. I was ready for the presentation. I said, is anybody there got a cell phone? And they can dial me, and we will communicate over the phone for the voice. And because there was only two of us, and it worked out pretty good, is they used the speakers in the room to listen to me, and they used the mic on the cell phone to talk to me in my hearing aids. Now that was a solution. And I gave a 40-minute speech on mentoring. Back to you, Madam.
Thank you, Brian. And can you tell me if you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Because as you started speaking, I accidentally dropped the phone, and Zoom thought that I was moving. And in case you're not aware of this, when Zoom thinks that you're attending a meeting and in motion, it moves you to safe mode. So right now, it's blocked my video, and it says that I am on safe driving mode, and I don't know how to remove the mode. So as long as you can hear me, that's great. So let's move on to the second question then. And thank you, by the way, Brian, for sharing that very insightful personal experience with technology. I'd like to move on to my next question, which is, okay, the host is asking me to start my video. I've clicked it, Julie, but
it works. It works now. That is what I try to do, and it works.
Okay, wonderful. So my next question, and this one, Dennis, because you're an international trainer and you've conducted seminars and training in various parts of the world, I would like you to answer this question. Tell us one at least, or maybe one or two differences that you've had to recognize and adjust for when you are doing a session or a training session in a different part of the world. You can cite your own example, maybe one or two. Over to you, Dennis.
Thank you very much for this question. Yes, the different cultures are totally affects a role in training when you're doing a training. And 1 year I did training in Taiwan back-to-back 2 years. So the first year I was asking some questions, and the room was full, like 250 plus people. And I was telling some things as my usual style. It's very interactive. I'm asking questions. And although they seem very interested, they were not really answering. So I was like, okay, now what will I do? Because I'm not really getting feedback from the floor. And then I was telling more and trying to manipulate, like trying to give some route to how they can answer. Still, there wasn't many answers. And I finished the training. The training went well for the people. They were clapping, they were smiling. But I was not content because I was feeling like, no, it shouldn't be like this. They were not really sharing anything, any questions or any answers to my little questions. And after the session, I thought, what can I do? What can I do next? So next year, I was speaking at the same conference in Taiwan again with a similar audience. And I used a system, an online system that a company was providing. And with that online system, you give them on the screen, you give them a phone number, kind of a number, and they go on a specific website, log on with that number, so they give their answers on their phone very short answers. And after the minute or two finishes, the system puts all the answers on the screen. So it writes on the screen maybe 20, 30, 40 people's answers. So apparently the Asian people from that part, most of them was Chinese, Taiwanese, Filipinos, Malaysians. So most of them were wanting to answer, but they were not, kind of shy or not really stepping up and answering. But when you give them the choice to answer on a system on their phone, they were answering. So all the answers were on the screen, and I could read some of the highlights from there and work on more on that feedback and continue my session in a more interactive way. It was very powerful.
Thank you. Wow, that is wonderful, Denise. And actually, being Asian myself, thank you. I'm sorry if I interrupted you. I thought you were done. Since I can't see you, I didn't see any cues. So thank you so much. That is an excellent illustration of how you made cultural adaptation. First of all, you were sensitive to the cultural difference, and then you use technology to adapt to it. And yes, one of the reasons why many Asians, especially the Chinese, would be hesitant is because they're aware that their accent might not be very understandable, but they're very comfortable with typing because their English is usually better in writing than verbally. That's an amazing insight. I hope all trainers bear that in mind. And Denise, if you would share that software application, I'm sure all trainers would want to know what application you were using wherein they could do that. So thank you so much. I would now, my next topic is actually a segue to that question, and it is, what do you do or how do you address an issue when you're doing training wherein you need to have interaction, but the usual mode of interaction may be difficult, either because, like in this case, cultural barriers, or the audience may be hundreds of people or even thousands, and it is difficult for you to have one-on-one interaction. So what are some other ways other than what Denise has shared, which is very powerful? Any other ways that you have engaged your audience and it's hard to do the one-on-one conversations? Who would like to answer that? I've heard that Scott is on. Scott, would you like to answer that question? And again, I apologize, I cannot see you. I am driving blind here. So are you unmuting yourself, Scott?
Yep, I'm unmuted. So thank you very much for that question. That's a curly question. I'm sure it's a difficult situation when you can't interact with people the way you would like. So you need to be a little bit more flexible and think of different ideas, maybe interaction. I've heard, as Dennis gave us examples of that software, I've also seen people being able to answer back. I believe there is an application for, you can answer back on a hashtag on Twitter or on Facebook or other ways of interacting with people. But it's always important. Very important to try to connect with the audience. So you need to be open-minded and flexible and do whatever you need to do to try to interact with people, to connect with people, so they get your message. So it's as I just said, there's probably a lot of software. There's hashtags with Twitter. As we've alluded to before, some people find it much more beneficial to actually write something, and you can have someone that actually takes all those feeds and gives you the feedback so you connect. Back to you, Michelle.
Thank you very much, Scott.
May I add
Yes,
something?
sure, Julie. Yes, please. Please, go ahead, Julie.
So, I was guide for Kwanzaa clubs, and what I found out, and in Haiti in French, and I found a very low tech mode. I told them if they hear me, they have to raise their hands. And suddenly a lot of hands rose. And the Toastmaster who didn't tell French, no French, she told me, wait, they are waving. They waved because I asked them. So I wanted to know if they hear me. And another time also I told them, put your hands up or do something. And they did. So
Yes. Sorry, Julie, I interrupted you because I couldn't see you. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
that is all I wanted to add. That you can be very high tech, but you can be also very low tech, and it works as well.
Thank you. Thank you. That is, again, a perfect segue. It looks like everything we're sharing here is perfectly connected, because I was going to share, as we were talking about the high-tech typing in the hashtag, I was going to share that if you are in a physical training session and people do not really have their equipment, or like here I am right now, the internet is very low. One of the other ways is to always have index cards with the small pieces of paper, cut up paper. Have this passed around to everyone, and then you can say if you have any thoughts, any questions, just scribble them and then just have them passed forward. So it also helps people. They're not conscious. They don't have to stand up, ask for the microphone. You just get this card sent up to you, and you can pick them up and read the question or the comment without necessarily the person having to stand up and say it. And it's really helpful because you can pre-read and you can choose which ones you want to read or respond to. Very low tech, as Julie mentioned, but very effective. I think we might be down with our time, but I didn't want to end without asking Terry.
Perhaps you ask Terry a question?
Yes, yes, exactly. As I was saying, I didn't want to end the training topic session without asking Terry. So Terry, I am not sure if you're a trainer yourself or not. So this question you can answer in either perspective, from either perspective. If you're a trainer, you can answer as a trainer, or if you're a participant, you can answer as a participant. So the question is, what do you consider as the most effective quality of a trainer that really helps the learners to learn? So if you're a trainer, answer from trainer's perspective. If you're a learner, answer from a learner's perspective. Over to you, Terry.
Thank you, Michelle. Trainers have a responsibility to their audience, to their learners, to make sure that the structure of the training is in order, that what the learner was wanting to know is the key elements and the key purpose of that training. And they also have the responsibility to make it interesting for the learners as well. So to me, it's no different than giving a speech. It's just a different structure and a different way you're putting it. At the initial outset, you need to do something to grab their attention and to get them on board and to create a curiosity factor with them, so that they're already there wanting to know something, and then there's an extra curiosity factor within your opening story, statement, whatever it might be, that's going to pique their interest, so that you can then segue in to your structure and how you're going to train them and the information you're going to give them, and to keep it alive and vivid, so that the people to participate, but at the same time they're interested in participating. They're not nodding off and going to sleep 5 minutes into your talk or into your training. And it's paramount. Otherwise, they're wasting their time and you're wasting your time, I think. And if that's completed my timing, I don't know. I have no indicator, so I'll complete there.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry. That is a very thoughtful insight that I hope all trainers remember. You have to share your structure and your organization, your plan with your trainees, because you may know what you want to talk about, but they don't. and you want a shared expectation and shared vision. Wonderful reminder to all of us. Thank you so much, Terry. And now let me hand over, after having tremendously enjoyed and learned from this training topic session, let me hand control over back to our Toastmaster of the day. Back to you, Julie.
Thank you very much. In a pathway and global trainer fashion, because we have now 2 evaluators present for Brian, I would like to propose that each evaluator have 2 minutes to evaluate Brian. And we have Terry and we have Denise. Denise, did you hear all the speech Brian told us, or only the half?
No, I could listen from the beginning, but now I cannot use my video because the internet is so comes and goes.
So,
but I can talk like this if you like.
You have 2 minutes, and then Terry 2 minutes to speak about.
Okay, shall I?
Brian's speech. It is up to you now.
As Terry is a guest, I can give the first words to him if he likes.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't mind either way. Yeah. Okay, I'll go first up. Thank you, Brian, for your insights into speechcraft using pathways, and I like that because I haven't looked into it. So there was a good deal of information there. I thought your delivery was clear, easy to understand, terrific amount of detail in this, particularly the outset of how you go about setting up the pathways version of speechcraft. And the structure throughout it really flowed nicely, and it was very detailed in structure as well. I've got a few gifts for you, so I hope you don't mind me being a bit bold here. My gifts are points to improve, and so I call them gifts because I think they're the bits that we're looking for to grow and develop our skills. Initially, I think you could have had more impact in your opening. And there was a bit of technology stuff that got in the way, which really should have been sorted out before you even stepped up to the gate, but it got in the way. But even so, you could have said, right, now I'm going to begin, this is my opening. And I think rather than have a mundane opening that I felt it was mundane, you could have sort of fired off straight away and piqued the audience's interest, say for something like that. Have you ever heard of the 80-20 rule? Parenthesis. Do you know what it is and what it means, and go in there, so and to create some interest within the speech context, and then go back to building, demonstrating your structure, where you're going to go with it, and then follow on from there. To me, the slides are an accompaniment to a talk. The talk comes first, the slides are to support your talk. So I thought the slides could have, forgetting about the technology glitches, but they were very wordy. There were no images, and there was, there could have been images like a clock or a calendar when you're talking about times and dates, and then you talk about the times and dates rather than just have it written up there. People can read it. You might as well send them it on a piece of paper for them to read, rather than you go to the effort of talking to them. And so I felt that could have been better as well. And your voice was very monotone throughout. So try and put some highlights in, a little bit of passion, a little bit of, this is a really interesting part about speechcraft. When you get there and you get a guest speaker, somebody that's enthusiastic and inspirational really can get people moving and get them sitting on the edge of their seat and wanting to know more about giving presentations. Don't sort of keep it monotone. Try and keep that up and down, and some interest there for the audience, because it's not about you, and it's not really about speechcraft. It's about these people in the audience. They've paid some money for something, and they need to get value for the money that they've paid. And so to me, it always comes back to what the audience can get out of it. A little suggestion with the certificate that you hand out, you've got, they were a participant in. I'd like to think it was worded a little bit better to say they've completed the speechcraft. something more substantial than just a participant, I think, would be more appropriate on the certificates that you hand to them. But that was just a detail of one of the slides. But look, your detail was excellent. The structure was brilliant. I loved the way you flowed through and kept in order all the way throughout. It was clear. You were easy to understand throughout. There's just those couple of little items, those gifts that I think if you took away and modified them a little bit to suit you, not me, and your audience, then I think, you know, that the speech given again would be brilliant. Thank you. I went a bit over time. I beg your pardon.
It's okay. Now I will jump in. I will jump in and make it fast. Thank you, Brian, for the speech, and I really like what you're doing and that you are sharing what you're doing with us, and you are sharing it in a way that we can really learn from what you're telling and then go out and apply it on our own in our communities. So this step-by-step moving us from organizing it was really great. What I really missed, or what I really was looking for and not see it, is your usual enthusiasm. Like, you're really doing these things because you're believing in it, but when you were telling it to us, it was really like a presentation. And even some of the times you were reading from your own slides. You're the one who created it, you're the one who did it, so you could have flow with your speech more enthusiastically and more from the heart. It didn't need to follow all the things on the slides, although I like the company of the slides because it shows how I can apply what you're saying. So you could just use them as a side and then just make a speech about your speechcraft. Other than that, it's great to have you tell these things to us, and thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Can we have a timer report?
Sure, Madame Toastmaster.
Julian.
The first only speech for today in charge of Brian. It takes 23 minutes and 22 seconds. In the training topic session, Brian made 1 minute and 52 seconds. Dennis, 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Scott, 1 minute and 27 seconds. Julie, 1 minute and 5 seconds. Terry, our guest, 1 minute and 27 seconds. In the evaluation, the part of Terry, he shared the evaluation by 3 minutes and 55 seconds, and Dennis 1 minute and 15 seconds. That's my report, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. We had Scott, general evaluator, listening to everything we did, and now it is his turn to tell us what he believes of today's session.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. Well, it wasn't one of our normal meetings, but I really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic meeting, really, because we had a great speech and 2 great evaluations. And what I really liked about both evaluations is they gave some honest feedback to Brian. And that's why we come to Toastmasters we're big people now. We've got broad shoulders and we're an advanced club. And I think Brian will get a lot out of Terry's evaluation and Dennis's. The only point I've got for Terry is just be careful of the time. But being new to online, I know it's a bit hard because you've got to look for the timer, look for the cards, but just be aware of the time. And I really liked the training topics from Michelle. That was excellent. They were really good questions and really good responses. And I got a great deal out of all those answers to make us make us better trainers. And we really have the advantage of having some really experienced trainers that we can all learn from, because we're all on different levels. So I thoroughly enjoyed this meeting. It mightn't have been one of our normal meetings, but we had quality in small numbers, and I really enjoyed the meeting, and I look forward to our next meeting. So back to you, Madam Toastmaster.